everyone, and welcome to another groundbreaking edition of Books and Banter, your Medina Library's video blog as to what the experts are reading. I'm your host, as always, Eric Lucius, again joined by our expert of experts, Mary Olson, Reader's Advisory Librarian. A little different format today. As you see, we're in the teen room again. This is kind of our little group setting. We're going to be talking about a book that was just released in the last week, perhaps. Yeah, much better cover on that one. Jenny Milchman's Cover of Snow. A lot of publicity, a lot of great reviews. This thing is covered with blurbs from big name authors. So we thought it'd be fun if we both read the same book and kind of banter about it with our impressions, a couple questions for each other. So again, just groundbreaking. That's why I use the term. So let's delve right into it. Mary, go ahead. What did you think? What was your review? What do you got?
Well, I'm always interested in a book that gets a ton of hype before it's even released. And like Eric said, this is full of ads from big authors that really do write terrific books. The premise was very interesting. A woman wakes up to find that her husband has committed suicide. He is a police officer, and everything seemed good in their life. They had a good marriage, and he loved his job and loved his work. But there's something sinister underfoot. There's a lot of things she doesn't understand about what happened, and a lot of questions that remain unanswered from Brandon's youth. And it's written as a very fast-paced, page-turning, suspense thriller type novel. But I think it came up a little short.
Absolutely,
what do you think?
absolutely. I think you hit right on with how it was written. It was supposed to be fast-paced. When you approach this book, lots of short chapters. I don't know how many there are, but 57 at least. So to me, that always indicates it's going to move along quickly. It's going to be fast-paced and everything. But I just found myself getting kind of bogged down at times. This is a book I read over the holidays on my short vacation. And it was one of those things, it should have been a book that you could sit down and just pour through it really quickly, but I found myself just doing a couple small chapters and then just setting it aside. I just couldn't quite get into it. I think this is her, she's a debut author, did a little research on her. It took her 11 years to get this first novel published. To me, it shows a little bit. It was a little bit, had that feel of someone that hadn't done a lot of writing before. So yeah, I get completely where she was going. I really like the setting. I know we talked about this before, the coldness. I think that was the best thing she did, is really use this really cold atmosphere and bleak and dark and everything as a plot point. But other than that, it just kind of fell short. I just didn't get there.
It's set in the Adirondacks in the middle of winter, and so there's a lot of description of the unending snow. These people just live with a terrific amount of snow and inconvenience, and it really adds to the sense of misery in this book. She's a young widow, she's trying to come to grips with what has happened, but just to be hampered in your day-to-day life with this weather, just really, it piled up her misery in this situation.
Absolutely, absolutely. The characters, what do you think of some of the characters? There's kind of a, as you mentioned, the husband commits suicide, and there's these. The one that kind of struck me was Ned, who's the reporter, and he kind of comes in. He becomes kind of a love interest in a way. And I think we can generalize about the characters, at least in my mind, that none of them really popped out for me. There was a lot of the mother was the most interesting one to me, but I don't think she really explored her too well. What did you think, especially about Ned? What do you think about Ned? Because he does play a big role in the book.
I got about 100 pages in the book, and I came to you and I said, when am I going to start caring about these people?
Yeah.
Nora is the widow. I wanted to really feel for her. She's in a horrible situation, but I just couldn't bring out all the empathy I wanted to for her. Ned is part of that storyline that I wish she would have cut back. I didn't really think it was essential to the story, and I know it gives Nora something to move ahead with, but it just didn't feel organic to the story.
Right.
The bad cops, there's a lot of bad cops in this town. There's kind of a sinister conglomeration of cops, and
yes, yeah.
I got the sense that they were bad, but I still didn't care.
Right.
I hate to admit it, but when an author writes a story that's supposed to be a page turner and a thriller, I understand that some of the characterization has to be dropped because there's not a lot of time for in-depth exploration. But if it's supposed to be the core of the mystery, then we do need to know a little more about the people.
Yeah, absolutely. At least for them to make sense in the plot. I felt like there was too many times that the characters just, there were all these threads, and they just didn't, it just didn't make sense. It didn't feel right. It felt rushed. One of the things that really bothered me, one of the characters, Duger, um, and we don't want to reveal too much of the plot and give away the story, but he comes into this role as he does these recordings and things. It's just really odd, and I felt like he was just a vehicle to make things happen. It felt rushed. It felt forced. It felt fake to me a little bit. So yeah, the characters really didn't really do much for me. Another question I wanted to pose to you. This whole thing with her husband, committing suicide, and there's this backstory of maybe she didn't know him as well. Do you think, as Nora, and again, I wanted to sympathize with her, I wanted her to be the big character and really wanted to get into her story. Do you think she kind of missed the signs? Do you think that was something that happened, that there was all this going on around here and she completely missed out that her husband was having these issues? Because as you mentioned at the very beginning, it seemed like they had this ideal life together.
Well, I think there were signs. Brandon's mother, particularly, she was a huge sign because she's crazy. And I think if Nora obviously didn't have a good relationship with her,
right,
and she was so angry about Nora's relationship with Brandon and really anything related to Brandon, that I think that should have been a sign to Nora that something really bad is in his past.
Yes.
Not necessarily that he did, but something very bad is unresolved and it's still carrying forward today.
Yes, yeah, absolutely, absolutely. So I think, in general, to sum up, we both probably give us a pass. I mean, for as much publicity and as hype as it's getting, and
it fell short for us,
yeah,
for both of us. And the funny thing is I haven't really found a bad review of it.
right.
So I don't know if we're way out in left field,
Right.
but we don't match the critics on this one.
Absolutely, absolutely. I would pair this because it kind of has the small town conspiracy feel. I think other readers, if you like a Greg Hurwitz, I was thinking like a Linwood Barclay, maybe a Harlan Coben. I don't want to go that far because I like Harlan Coben. But if you enjoy those books, those authors, you may enjoy this book. What do you think? Who else would you?
Harlan Coben came to mind for me too,
Mm-hmm.
but not as good.
Right. Yeah. Not as good. Not as good. It's
What's your wine pairing?
Oh, my wine pairing. This was, to me, was a New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. We're talking the cheaper ones you can get at your grocery stores. A Starborough, an Oyster Bay, a Nobilo. The reason being, to me, a New England Sauvignon Blanc has this sharp, tropical, citrusy fruit, like right on the tongue, and then the cheap ones just kind of like get flabby in the middle, and at the end just leaves you leaving like blah. Where's the flavor? And that's what it was with me, because I was hooked right away. Other than the cover, now that cover is much more attractive.
Yeah,
the actual
the
cover.
cover's
This is
really
an
good.
advanced copy. This looks like a playing card. I didn't know if I should read or deal it, but this one's much more attractive. So it got me right away, like New Zealand Sauvignon Blanc. But then it just completely kind of fell apart for me and left me wanting for more.
Yes.
Okay, well, I think we've finished off this guy. Just a quick little advertisement, which I threw down on the floor. Here at the Medina Library, February, we're focusing on art. The Aquarius Art Show will be up on the 3rd floor starting about February 2nd, 3rd, somewhere in there. February 9th, we have Jazz, America's Musical Art with Bill Brawning. Did a wonderful program on music and laughter for us in January. He's going to be back on the 9th. And February 16th, Art in Action. We have about 26 artists that will be stationed throughout the library, 8 musicians. This is going to run from 11 to 2. All kinds of good stuff coming in. You're going to see artists actually doing their work. Good stuff there. Mary, got a plug for anything?
Nope, just continue to join us on Facebook Wednesday nights from 9 to 10. We have a free-for-all book discussion. It's growing and it's really fun, so join us.
Excellent, excellent. All right, well, thank you for joining us, and we will see you in the stacks.